Everyone, thank you very much for taking time to join us today for this webinar. This is on the subject of Intune in particular. Intune reporting done right is the title. Delighted to be joined by Eido today, and Sean Patton is here alongside me, and you'll be pleased to hear that he's going to be doing the majority of the talking when it comes to showing this exciting technology area and bringing it to life with a live demo as well. So in terms of the agenda for today, so a little bit from me just to set the scene in terms of who we are at Group, and then I will hand over and let Sean get into the detail of telling you all about Eido, and in particular about how it solves some of the particular problems we're seeing out there with Intune reporting in particular. Bring it to life with a live demo. We've got the ability to have some question and answers at the end, so please do take time to chat, add anything into the Q&A panel. You'll see this is a Teams webinar, so alongside the normal chat button you're expecting to see, there is a Q&A panel there, so if you want to just raise any questions as we go, please do. That'd be excellent. And then we'll cover that off at the end, and then just a quick close, and we'll let you back to your busy days. So without further ado, so I'm Andy Brown. I'm the UK Technology Director here at Group. I look after all of our go-to-market product strategy areas and our technical partnerships. I'm delighted that Eido are one of those. At Group themselves, we're UK headquartered, established some time ago. We're originally based out of Australia, Melbourne, Australia. Long experience in the world of providing IT services across our technology pillars, those being our AtSoft division, where we increasingly are talking about bespoke software development and AI solutions going in particular. Our @ID area, where we talk about enhanced due diligence, and also how we're helping organizations when it comes to looking at AI and ML to actually increase your cyber defense capabilities. Two main divisions that we tend to focus in on in our conversations with clients are around our AppDocs division, which is where we talk about everything in the document world, whether that's the print side of the business all the way through to digital mailroom, email filing, and indeed, doing document management solutions. But for today, we're particularly focusing in on our app device pillar, which is all about how do we actually create the capability to effectively take endpoint as a service going forwards. And for some organizations, that will be a conversation to talk about the technology. And indeed, that's where Eido come in as one of the key components of our app device service. But for others, it may be something where they actually need a solution to do a complete managed endpoint solution. So that's something we can happily entertain as a conversation, as a follow-up to this, whether that's supporting, delivering, deploying the endpoints all the way through to complete configuration of Intune, reporting on and monitoring of security patches, etc., estate management, the whole lot there. So in terms of what we're trying to do is ultimately build out what we call building out the missing 20% of a Microsoft stack. So a lot of organizations are anchored around the Microsoft technology stack. We try and build out that what we call the missing 20%, which gives you your business the complete picture. I guess for me, ultimately every organization we speak with pretty much is an Intune shop now. Intune has been around for a surprisingly long time. Originally born out of the mobile world, really, where Microsoft introduced it as a competitor to some of the original MDM providers that were out there in the market. And Intune originally was quite an interesting entrant to the market because it was out of the box a cloud service ultimately, which was quite revolutionary back in its day. I guess now, though, we are talking about the world of UEM. So you see there on the screen, we talk about a unified endpoint strategy. UEM itself basically is Intune now. It is the control plane increasingly that you use for all endpoints. We've got the ability to have our all endpoints under there, whether that's the mobile estate, iOS, Android, increasingly Mac coming across into this world as well as the solutions build out, and indeed Windows has obviously come in and kind of followed the management solution, which is kind of like a laptop is increasingly just a giant glorified mobile phone when it comes to the way we manage and deploy and configure these endpoints. And that is a big change from the way things were done traditionally in the world of SCCM in particular, which is now increasingly being replaced by Intune in organizations big and small. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Sean from Eido, and he's going to take you through this solution, which I think is a really neat and exciting solution to solve a lot of the challenges that we see out there with the Intune estate. So, Sean, over to you.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. So, hey everyone, and thanks to Andy and @Group for having me on your webinar. I'm Sean. I'm the founder of Eido, and I'm super excited to talk more about Intune reporting, what we do, and the gaps around that. So I'll jump into my slides. Okay, so who are we? So we're a software company based in London. Eido originally started off as a digital experience monitoring company, similar to the likes of Controller, Nextthink. But we completely pivoted the business in 2024 when we saw a lot more traction on the really small Intune module that we built. So we were jumping on customer calls. We were really excited to show the digital experience monitoring product we had built. But customers at that point were mainly interested in this very small Intune module that we'd built. So we did a lot of research. At that point, we pivoted the business and the product and went completely agentless, focusing on improving the visibility in Intune. So that's kind of where we are right now. And that's a few of our team at an event we did in Copenhagen a few months ago. So our mission is to turn complex Intune data into clear, actionable insights. Now, what does that mean? Like, what's the problem? What is the main problem that we're solving? So I always jump straight into this. So with Intune, the dashboard says green, but reality essentially says otherwise. So Intune hides real critical operational risk behind the compliance status. So you might see that green compliance status in Intune. What we do is we bring back a lot more data and we make it a lot more visible. So let's jump into this. So one of the main things we do at Eido is we try and solve the blind spots in Intune. So if you look on the left-hand side here, you can see in native Intune, you've just got the normal compliance column. And there's a bunch of things that you can predefine with your compliance. Now, with Eido, we bring back that compliance column, but we also bring back config policy health, app health, and patch health. Now, the reason we do that is because if we look at these devices here on the left, they're all compliant and green. If we look at them in Eido, some of them are missing important config policies, some of them are missing important applications, and some of them are missing patches for a long period of time. So I'll drill down more into this into the live demo that we have. Okay, so Capterra. So when we carried out our research before pivoting the business, platforms like Capterra played a real key role in validating the opportunity we were seeing in the market. So Capterra is an online marketplace and review platform that helps businesses discover, evaluate, and compare software solutions. So the feedback and market data we gathered from Capterra and a bunch of others alongside other review platforms and customer conversations as well consistently highlighted the same challenge with Intune. So organizations were struggling with visibility, reporting, operational insight within Intune. So that research gave us the confidence that there was a genuine gap in the market, and it ultimately helped shape our decision to fully pivot towards an agentless, Intune-focused reporting platform. So the solution. So we've built a software as a service platform that solves the gaps around the Microsoft Intune reporting. So here's just a screenshot of one of the pages within Eido, and I'll jump into more of this within the platform in the demo soon. So another problem that we solve is software visibility. So who's using the application? So Intune will tell you if Adobe Pro is installed on the machines, but Eido will tell you if it's actually being used. Now, companies spend a lot of money on applications, especially, for example, Adobe CAD/CAM applications, for example. But what they don't know and what Intune won't tell you is it will tell you if they're installed, but it won't tell you if they're being used at all. We have a bunch of enterprise integrations as well. So ServiceNow, Slack, Teams, and Webhook. So you can get information out of Eido and out of Intune and push it into your ITSM tools. Allows you to be more proactive rather than reactive. And what I'll do now is I'll jump into a live demo of the platform. Okay, so when you log into Eido for the very first time, you see this demo, you see this dashboard. And here you can see, this is just our default dashboard essentially. So we'll show you complete OS patch status of all of your endpoints. So not just your Windows, we'll show you iPhone, iPad, Android, your Mac devices as well. You can drill into them and you can click on them and see which ones are no longer supported by the manufacturer as well. You can also see any overdue. But what we don't do is we don't show you a sea of red the day after Patch Tuesday. So we allow you to specify how many days until the device goes amber and how many days until the device goes red when they're missing a patch. But what I tend to do when I demo Eido, I jump straight into the endpoints tab. So let me jump into here. And this is what we were discussing earlier on the why we built Eido. So if you look here, all these endpoints are green and compliant. So we bring the compliant status from Intune and we show you that exactly how Intune shows you. But what we also do is we bring back the config policy health, the managed app health, and the patch status of all of your endpoints. So let's jump into this example. So we've got Quinn's device is compliant in Intune. So we're looking through Intune and all these devices are compliant. So let's scroll past them. We don't care. You know, they're all happy. They're all healthy. Now let's really drill into this in Eido. So if I drill into this, okay, so it's compliant in Intune. Let's go to patches. Cool. Okay, so the last patch installed was released on the 9th of December. So it's not had a patch at all this year. I would say that's quite an important thing. Config policies. Okay, so the CIS baseline is failing on this device. So CIS baseline is failing to apply. It's not had a patch at all this year. Let's jump into managed apps. Okay, CrowdStrike has failed to install. So what we've got here is we've got a device that is missing CrowdStrike. It's missing the CIS baseline, and it hasn't had a patch at all this year. Now, it's still green and compliant in Intune. So what we're doing is Intune has this data. So what we're doing is we're bringing that data back and allowing you to make decisions on it. So the cool thing is not every config policy and not every managed app is as important as for example, a CIS baseline. So in Eido, you can decide which ones are important and which ones are not. So here's an example. Config policies, if the CIS baseline is failing to apply, you can decide to mark that endpoint as red or amber. If the background policy is failing to apply, maybe you don't care and you can mark it as ignore and keep it green. So you can choose on a policy by policy basis which ones are important and which ones aren't. So what I'll do is I'll jump into that and I can show you where you can do that in Eido. I go to admin. If I edit our tenant here, let's jump into the tenant. Now what we can do under config policies, if I click on here, this will list all of the config policies that we're applying to our devices, and I can choose. So let's say Eido security baseline, if that's failing to apply, let's go red. Let's make it a high priority issue. Managed apps, we can choose which ones are high, which ones are medium, and which ones we'd like to ignore. And same with compliance policies. Sometimes you have compliance policies that are not as important as others. If I go back to tenant settings, here is also where I specify how many days until we're missing a security patch. We go amber and how many days to go red. So by default, it's 7 days amber, 14 days red, but you can change this to work with your business. Now let me jump jump back to the dashboard. Okay, so here is where we can see everything. So we have warranty coverage. So we will show you warranty coverage of all of your endpoints. We currently support Dell, HP, and Lenovo. The OS patch status that we talked about earlier, if I click on any of these devices, I can see the status on every single device. So here we've got some Windows 10 devices that are no longer supported. We've got some Windows 11 devices that are also no longer supported. And if I go to OS Health on the left and I go to OS Compliance, here I can see an overview. And this is an overview of all of the operating systems across your entire Intune tenant. So we can see how many devices are running iOS 18, for example. We can see how many are running Windows 10 still. So we've still got 3 running Windows 10 1809, and that was end of life 6 years ago. So we will show you the countdown. We will show you how many years or how many months ago an OS is no longer supported by the manufacturer. And also we will show you a countdown of when the OSs you're running now are due to expire. So for example, Windows 11 24H2, we've got 1 year left of that. In here, we can drill down into any of those devices. So let's drill down into this one. We can see the 29 that are no longer supported, and we can see when they last had a security patch. So 6 months ago, they've not had a patch. Now, one of the other areas of Eido that's super exciting to our customers is the software metering element. Now, software metering doesn't exist in native Intune. So we built software metering using the Microsoft Intune agent. So we use proactive remediations to collect this information. So if I jump over to the software metering, the app metering tab here, now here I can see all of the applications we're running across our tenant. I can drill down into the applications that we're metering. So if I drill into Adobe Reader, this is quite an important one for customers. I can see which users are using Adobe. So here we've got the last 30 days. I can see which users are using it and when the last use date was. I can see which devices were using it, because sometimes licenses are based on a user, they're based on a device. So we allow you to slice and dice the information as well. And we also see by version. Now, this was a really interesting one. A customer recently said, hey, I know you've got this software metering element of Eido, but our security team would like to know the last time someone used a specific version of Adobe Reader. You may remember a few months ago, or maybe weeks ago now, there was a critical vulnerability in a version of Adobe that everyone needed to patch almost immediately. Now, this wasn't the main use case for software metering, but it's a cool use case that you can use it for, especially for your security team. You can see who used Adobe, which version they used, and when they last used it. So for example, here, we can drill into this version, and in the last 30 days, this was used last month. I can drill into it. I can see who used it, and I can see how many minutes they used it for and which dates they used it on. Now, the cool thing here is any of these pages, if you want to slice and dice the data more, let's say you want to build a dashboard for a specific department, or maybe you're a global company and you want to split the responsibilities out for different areas of the business. Let's say you have a US team, you have a UK team, and maybe a team in Europe. So you can open this in Query Hub, and you can build your own filters, your aggregations, you can do your group bys. You can create bar charts, pie charts. So here's an example. We can drill down if we wanted to. We can filter on a specific user, on a specific version, or even a specific Intune tenant. If you look after multiple Intune tenants, either an MSP, or even if you're a large enterprise and you acquire other companies and you need to see all of your tenants in one pane of glass, we also support multi-tenant as well. So while we're here, what I'll do is I'll jump into Query Hub. So Query Hub is our new exciting new product that we've launched within Eido. And this is primarily around the reporting gap. So you might be aware the Intune reporting is quite limited. So this is why we built Query Hub. So we have over 100 out-the-box reports on Query Hub. Everything from policy conflicts to slow autopilot deployments. There's an out-the-box report. And if there isn't an out-the-box report, you can build one yourself. So let's jump into some of the examples that we've got here, and then I'll jump into building some out the box. So we've got policy settings. So here we can see all the policy settings we're applying to our tenant. We can see any changes. We can see conflicts, and we can see settings overlaps. Now, the reason this is really crucial is if you are a business that is regulated and you're going through maybe your ISO 27001 certification. We're currently going through ours right now. Now this will show us, if I go to policy setting changes, this will show us exactly which policies we're applying, when we applied them from, when we're applying them to, and the duration. So for example, if we need to show to an auditor that we have, for example, a minimum PIN set for an iPhone, we can go into here and we can see when this policy was applied, when it was no longer applied, if that's the case, how many days it's been valid for, and we can go to all settings here as well if we want, and we can see every single setting we're applying across all of our config policies. So if you really need to drill into specific settings, you can see that, and you can see how long this setting has been active since. We have, let's find autopilot reports. We've got 9 autopilot reports. So if you wanted to drill down into slow autopilot deployments, we can do that. And let's run this report. There's none in my demo environment, unfortunately. Let's go into a custom report. So let's say we want to build a custom report, and we would like to, let's do that now. So let's do custom report, and let's build it based on devices. And let's filter on the devices that are missing a patch. So if I search for patch here, let's do OS patch status. Let's do healthy, but let's do not equals to healthy. So we now have a list of all the devices that are unhealthy, that have an unhealthy patch status. Now, if we go to group by, let's go to group by and let's group them by. So we've got lots of columns we do here, and we also bring the Entra data in as well. So you can group by columns on the Entra user. So let's group by department. Okay, and let's turn it into a pie chart so it's a bit nicer. Cool. Okay, so this is now a list of this is a pie chart containing all of the unpatched devices, and it's grouped by which department. So which department is the most unhealthy? So unfortunately, in this case, it's marketing, have the most unpatched devices. And the cool thing is, what you can do here is you can save these reports. You can share them with your team. You can schedule them automatically to be emailed to yourself, either daily, weekly, or monthly. And you can build different reports for different teams. So if you wanted to build a category for your US team, your UK team, you can do that. Now, the other cool thing is, if I go to dashboards up here, you can also build custom dashboards. So if I create a new dashboard here, I can clear this. And let's start afresh. And let's create an exec dashboard. So for this dashboard, let's say we want to focus on all of our C-level executives. So let's build a new item, and let's build a custom widget. So here, what we can do is we can filter. So we've got device health here. We can filter on department. And let's do department equals, there we go. So C-level executives. So we've got the health of all the devices for C-level execs. We can add that to our dashboard. Okay, and we can add another item, and let's get a custom. Let's say the next one, we want a list of all of the C-level executives that are missing a CIS baseline. So here's another example. Let's go to device issues. And let's add a filter. So we do the same filter again, department. department is C-level execs, and we want a specific policy here. So we want just the CIS baseline. Here we go. Let's see what we've got here. Let's do a tile. So it will just give us a number. Cool. Okay. So CIS. Execs missing CIS baseline. Ah, this one has failed. See if this one will try. This is what happens when we do a live demo on my dev environment. It doesn't save this specific one. But essentially, if I go back to this dashboard over here, this is one I built earlier. So we can see the CIS baseline failures. We can see autopilot deployments longer than 30 minutes if you wanted to put a custom report there. We can see the patch status of all the C-level executives. So if we wanted to group by patch status, and then we can drill down on everything. So if I click there, I can then drill into which devices, which users. I can drill down even further into the device, and I can see exactly which patches and which KBs are missing from that device. Cool. Okay. The next thing I'll jump into is the policy management side of Eido. So what we do is we will back up all of your policies every hour. So if you have made a change and you want to jump back to a previous version, we back up the policies every hour. You'll be able to see any changes that were made. And if I click on changes, I can see what was changed and when it was changed. We can see the previous and the current. So we see here, there was a change to our bookmarks. Eido bookmarks, someone probably added something. We can also restore them if we want to. And if I click restore, I can restore the policy, and we also restore the assignments. So we can restore, and we also back up the assignments as well. Cool. Yeah, so that's the policy management side of things. And one final thing I'll jump into, which is quite useful, especially in regulated environments, is the trends. So the other cool thing that we do at Eido is we store the data for at least 12 months. So if you wanted to see how compliant you were, how healthy your config policies were, your application health, and your patch status, we'll show you how healthy they've been over the last 12 months. So if you're going through an audit and you need to show your patch status for the last 12 months, you can do this in the Eido trends section, and we can. So here we've got the last 30 days, but we can do the last 6 months if we wanted to. And then on a month-by-month basis, you'll be able to see this, and you'll be able to drill down on each month into the days as well. Just crunching up the data now. Here we go. So this is the last 6 months. And if we wanted to drill into why March was so bad, we can drill into March. We can see on a day-by-day basis. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So that's a very high-level overview of Eido. Yeah, I think I'll hand you back to Andy now.
Excellent. Okay. Well, look, thank you, Sean. Really informative as always. So in terms of a quick summary, I think hopefully you've seen there that it makes a massive difference having Eido alongside Intune, and it builds on top of Intune to really plug some of the gaps, I guess, in the platform. So we see a lot of Intune admins are spending a lot of time just trying to do this themselves, so that they'll be mucking around, running reports, trying to do bits themselves in Power Apps or whatever, and running bits of script or whatever it may be. Yeah, PowerShell. So and hey, we get that, but this means that you've got a proper reporting platform. It really does mean that your admins spend a lot more time and can support a lot more devices, and actually do the strategic work, because Eido is actually getting rid of some of that time spent just trying to plug the gaps. And really it allows you to kind of get much more proactive with your estate. So you can catch issues before they actually flare up and become problems. You can start to actually see your performance and how it's improving over time. And ultimately, you get to manage your devices more intelligently. You can actually start to be much more intelligent in terms of, warranty, hardware, actually having this ability to not just think about Intune as a management platform, but actually as an inventory and how you actually manage your assets. And also it plugs a massive gap when it comes to, looking at software metering, your license costs. Some of those third-party licenses can be pretty substantial spend, and that can save you a substantial amount of money along the way. And like I say, we consider this to be a very important platform to us. We've built it into our services. So with that in mind, I'm conscious of time. Let's keep it moving. We'll go over to the Q&A side now. So I've got a few questions here, Sean. So I'll probably be teeing them up and I'll be asking you to answer them if that's all right.
Yeah, sounds good.
So first one is, you mentioned about ServiceNow. Is it possible to alert teams or automate things into ServiceNow?
Yeah, of course. So what we do is we have an out-the-box integration with ServiceNow. So if you wanted to get patch alerts or config alerts, so let's say, for example, you want your C-level execs, every time they're missing that CIS baseline or every time they're missing that patch status or missing a patch for longer than 14 days, or even non-compliant, we can send them into ServiceNow and you can choose what type of incident to create, either incident, a case, a problem, for example. You can choose the impact, the urgency, the priority, and you can create them as tickets and assign them to your team in ServiceNow.
Excellent. Thank you, Sean. Question from James here. So with patch status, do you need to be using Intune for patching, or does it grab the information from the devices? And I suppose linked to that as well, are you installing an agent to collect software metering data? So I think they're probably similar sort of questions. So Sean.
Yeah, so to answer James's question is, so we collect the information directly from, we collect the OS version from Intune. So we don't, the device has to be in Intune, but you don't have to be pushing your updates via Intune. So let's say, for example, you're still using SCCM for your updates or WSUS or anything else. As long as that device is in Intune, we can show you the complete patch status.
Good
And
stuff.
on the other one, Andy, is the agent is we're completely agentless. So we don't need an agent on the machine at all. So we only use the Microsoft Graph API to collect the information.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And for the other part of James's question, yes, we will be in touch with a copy of the recording. I can answer that bit. That's the one bit I can answer for you. So absolutely, we can get a copy of the recording to you. Not a problem at all. Does Eido support BYOD device monitoring, specifically where people are using MAM and the devices aren't kind of in Intune?
So very good question, actually. I think, Andy, we were on a call with one of your customers a few weeks ago, and that was one of the asks from them, was to support that. So the answer is, and I'm glad someone else has asked that as well, because we know it's a problem. Right now, no, but that is in our roadmap for the next quarter. So in the next 3 months, we will be supporting the BYOD devices, very specifically the MAM devices, where you're just applying the MAM policies, like they're not an Intune managed device. We will be able to show you the patch status of those endpoints. So to make sure that your users are still using personal devices that are up to date and secure.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Look forward to seeing that, Sean. How do you collect patch status for iOS then, Sean?
So how do we collect the patch status for iOS? So we can't get that information directly from Intune because it doesn't have it directly. So we collect the OS version from Intune for all your devices, and we separately reach out to we reach out to Apple, Microsoft, Android, and we download all of the patches from all of those the OS manufacturers, the vendors, and then we correlate that within Eido. So that's how we do that.
Excellent. Good stuff. Because there's always a pain. And obviously this must be connecting in using Graph API. What permissions do you need to run Eido?
A very good question. So we tend to suggest that for enterprises, or internal IT teams, you can set Eido for read only. So there's a very small number of permissions we need, and read only permissions is essentially all we need. If you want to, the only reason we'd need a read write is for the restore element of the policy management. However, we suggest, and we've said this in a few calls, haven't we, Andy, to customers, we suggest read only. And if you need to restore a policy, we give you all of the data anyway, so you can just do that yourselves. It's not a daily thing you'll be restoring policies, so it makes sense just read only. But what we can do is we can send you exactly which permissions we require. We have them documented on our support center.
Okay, good stuff. Another one, we've obviously talked about ServiceNow. Do we support any other ITSMs?
So we support ServiceNow directly. We also support webhooks. So if there's anything that we don't support, you can use a webhook and then you can integrate with your other ITSM tool. Or alternatively, we also support email. And we find that nearly every ITSM tool will accept an email. So you can just do an email integration as well. It doesn't mean we won't support it. So if we get enough demand from customers to support another ITSM tool, we'd definitely consider that as an out-the-box integration.
Excellent. Cheers, Sean. Okay, well, look, appreciate you going answering all those questions for you, and thank you everyone for taking time to attend. I think the best way to bring this to life is to plug Eido into your environment. It's an easy onboard, as is often the case with, give it the permissions and away you go. We can offer you to delegates today a free 30-day proof of concept. So plug it in, and out of the box, you'll see a lot of the rich functionality come to life that Sean has demoed today. So please do get in touch if you're interested in that. I'm sure we'll be contacting you as well, just to get some feedback on your thoughts on the webinar today. But for now, thank you very much for taking time to join us today. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you all. And thank you, Sean.
Thank you for having me on your webinar. Awesome.
Lovely. Cheers all.